Sound Chapter. She contacted me last fall, sent me an email that she was going to be at the IEHA convention, and she wanted to pick my brain. And I hadn't met her, but she wanted to find out what I did and you know, if someone new in this business, what can they do to learn and establish themselves more. And I was just very impressed, and we actually met a couple of times and shared information. She's a very dynamic person. She joined the Puget Sound Chapter, has been part of the planning committee that has planned this event. And speaking of Robin, brand new member, volunteered to serve on this committee. And we were talking about leadership and the theme of, you know, leadership, and she has put together, or had put together already, a presentation on Are You Healthy Enough? And it just seems so intriguing. Are you healthy enough to lead? And so without any further ado, I'll turn it over to our first speaker, Robin McKinney.
Thank you so much. So the topic today is, are you healthy enough to lead? This possibility of transformation is the crux of my presentation today. Transformation begins by understanding the be, do, have principle and recognizing who you are being and what you are doing. Now, in today's presentation, I'm going to ask you to dig deep. So this is not a surface level conversation, and my crew knows that. They know that about me. So the context is leadership fitness, but if you don't lead or supervise others, that's all right. The information is still important because you're always a leader of yourself. So stay with me. Today, my goal, my objective is to challenge you to examine your leadership fitness level. I'm going to further explain the be, do, have principle. We're going to look at a couple examples of poor leadership fitness. I'm going to share a tool that will help you elevate your leadership fitness. I'll share a success story of how I use that tool. And we'll do an exercise, and we'll finish up with those pieces of paper I don't want you to look at yet in the middle of the table. Adult learners, I know, and I knew this. I forgot a cover sheet, and I'm paying the price. So if you've already read it, put it back, please. Tried to cover it up with the number, but that didn't work. Believe me, we will get to that at the end of the presentation. I'll also give you a tool that will help you reclaim or establish power in areas of your life that you wish to do so. Now, as Jean said, the power of the presentation of all day today is your participation. I'm going to ask you to write things down. You've got 3 index cards in front of you, and there are pencils on the table. One of those is for feedback. One of those is for one of the exercises, two of the exercises we're going to do. And I went around, so everybody should have one. And so participate. The information will be much more long-lasting and beneficial if you do so. So let's get started. What is the be, do, have principle? Simply stated, the be, do, have principle is being creates actions of doing, resulting in your having. Being creates actions of doing, resulting in your having. Here's a simple illustration. 20 years ago, I was a competitive athlete. I was a power lifter. That's a type of weightlifting. And I wanted to set national and world records. So I thought to myself, what type of athlete sets national and world records? High performance athletes. So I needed to be a high performance athlete. So as I ingrained that in my mind and I thought about what high performance athletes do, I began to do those things. I trained religiously, rigorously. I ate properly. I got proper rest. I balanced my leisure time with my training. And as I did those things over time, what was the end result? I set national and world records. By being that athlete, that high performance athlete in my mind first, and envisioning myself as that world champion, I created the actions that I needed to do to get there, resulting in my having world records. Be, do, have. Now the thing about this principle is it doesn't discriminate. Whether you use it for positive intentions or negative, it still applies. So here's what I think society has done. I think we've flipped it. We've done it in reverse. We want to have. Maybe we'll do a little to get what we want to have. And we'll even do less of being to get there. The best example of this is the lottery player. They want the millions. Nothing wrong with wanting $1 million. Nothing wrong with that. That's not what I'm saying. Okay? But we want to have the end result without doing or being what's necessary to get there. And what happens when the principle is applied out of order? Intended results don't last. It's like building a house on a sandy foundation. Sure, the house will stand for a while, but it won't stand the test of time. I found in my research 33% of lottery winners file for bankruptcy within 5 years of winning. Why? Because they didn't master the being part. They wanted to have, and they got it. And because they didn't know how to be the type of person that could manage that type of wealth, they ended up losing it. Be, do, have. Simple, yet very powerful. Now keep this principle in mind as I speak today because it's interwoven with everything that I'm going to say. And it is foundational to your improving or elevating yourself regardless of the application to leadership. You'll also see an undertone of taking personal responsibility. So you'll hear me point that out, so be ready for that.